Welcome to Potty, your daily briefing, Cybersecurity Alert, March 4, 2026.
All right, let's jump right in today with a focus on some pressing cybersecurity issues that are making waves online. We're covering the Google API keys scandal, where thousands of keys are exposing users to massive bills, the confirmed LexisNexis data breach that could affect millions of people's personal information, and finally, a deep dive into what it really means when we hear about bots scanning the internet for vulnerabilities. These stories highlight just how vulnerable our digital lives can be, so stay tuned as we break down the details, implications, and what you might need to do to protect yourself. Okay, so let's start with that Google API mess because it's got everyone talking.
So first up, we've got this wild situation with Google API keys that's been buzzing on Reddit. Apparently, there are 2,863 Google API keys found on public websites, and they're silently authenticating to Gemini, which is Google's AI model. One developer ended up getting hit with a whopping $82,340 bill in just 48 hours because of this, and Google's initial response was basically, yeah, that's intended behavior. I mean, can you imagine logging into your account and seeing that charge? It makes you think about how easily these keys can be exposed and abused, especially if developers aren't securing them properly.
Wait, let me think. This isn't just a one-off. It points to a bigger problem with how API access is managed, potentially leading to unauthorized usage and financial ruin for unsuspecting folks.
Digging deeper, Google's stance that this is intended behavior raises some serious red flags for me. It suggests that these keys are designed to work without much friction, which is great for convenience but terrifying for security. If just one key can rack up that kind of bill, what does that mean for smaller businesses or individual developers who might not have the resources to monitor their usage? Oh, that's really concerning, because it could lead to a wave of fraudulent charges or even data leaks if these keys access sensitive info. So practically speaking, everyone using Google APIs should be double-checking their key management right now, like use proper authentication, limit scopes, and set up billing alerts to avoid getting caught off guard. Moving on from there, the implications of this issue extend beyond just financial hits. It could erode trust in cloud services overall. I was gonna say it's no big deal, but actually wait, this is a wake-up call for the industry to rethink how we handle API security in an era where AI is everywhere. For instance, if Gemini is authenticating silently, hackers could exploit this for larger attacks, like data scraping or even more sophisticated breaches. All in all, it's a reminder that while innovation is key, we can't sacrifice security. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves up for disasters that affect real people. Shifting gears to our second story, let's talk about the LexisNexis data breach that's got cybersecurity circles buzzing. From what I've seen on Reddit, LexisNexis has confirmed that some of their internal and customer data was compromised, and that's a big deal because this company holds a massive amount of sensitive information on individuals and businesses. They deal with background checks, legal records, and all sorts of personal data. So a breach like this could expose things like addresses, financial details, or even employment history to bad actors. The summary from the source paints a pretty grim picture, mentioning how this is going to suck for everyone involved, and I have to agree, it's one of those companies that flies under the radar until something goes wrong. Now, thinking about the broader impact, this breach underscores the risks of centralized data storage. If one entity holds so much power, a single vulnerability can affect millions. For example, back in the late 1990s, people used LexisNexis for investigations, and today, with even more data at stake, the potential for identity theft or targeted attacks is sky high. Oh, that's wild, because it makes you question how companies like this are protecting our info in the first place. Are they using outdated encryption or failing to monitor for intrusions? Personally, I'd advise anyone whose data might be involved to freeze their credit and monitor for unusual activity, as these breaches often lead to long-term consequences. What really gets me is how LexisNexis responded. They confirmed it, but we don't have many details yet on the extent or how it happened, which leaves a lot of uncertainty. I mean, in an ideal world, companies would be transparent about these things to help users protect themselves, but often it's all hush-hush until the damage is done. This event ties back to our first story too, showing a pattern of tech giants not prioritizing security enough, and it makes me wonder if regulations need to be tougher. Alright, so if you're listening, take this as a nudge to review your own data exposure and maybe opt out of services that hoard your info unnecessarily. Alright, for our third and final main story, let's unpack this Reddit thread on what it really means when we hear about bots scanning the internet. Basically, the user is asking how these scans work. Do bots just go through IP addresses sequentially, or do they target specific ranges? From the discussion, it seems like scanning involves automated tools that probe for open ports, vulnerabilities, or misconfigurations across the web. It's not as random as it sounds. Hackers often use scripts to hit known vulnerable spots, like default passwords or outdated software, which can lead to things like the Google API issues we talked about earlier. Oh, that's actually really interesting because it highlights how proactive these threats are, constantly searching for weaknesses in real time. Diving deeper, these scans can range from simple ping sweeps to more complex operations using tools like Nmap, where bots might focus on IP blocks that are publicly accessible or historically vulnerable. I was going to downplay it, but wait, this is crucial for understanding cyber defense. If you're running a website or server, regular scans mean you need to stay patched and hidden.
For everyday users, this could translate to things like your smart devices getting compromised if they're not secured, leading to bigger breaches like LexisNexis.
So, practically, tools like firewalls and intrusion detection systems are your best friends here, and it's worth learning about them to stay one step ahead. The implications are pretty eye-opening. As more devices connect to the internet, the attack surface grows, making these scans more common and dangerous. It makes me think about how we can combat this, maybe through better education or automated security measures that alert us to scans in progress. That's genuinely fascinating because it connects to AI and automation in security, like using tools to verify code as mentioned in other sources, ensuring that what we're building isn't full of holes. Overall, understanding scanning is key to not becoming a victim in this ever-evolving cyber landscape. Wrapping things up, we've covered some heavy hitters today. The Google API keys exposing users to unexpected bills, the LexisNexis breach that puts personal data at risk, and the mechanics of internet scanning that keep threats alive. Each of these stories shows how interconnected and vulnerable our online world is, and it's a call to action for better security practices all around. Remember, staying informed is your first line of defense, so keep an eye on your accounts and maybe brush up on some cyber basics. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay safe out there in the digital wilds. If these stories got you thinking, share your thoughts or hit us up for more. We've got plenty more cybersecurity deep dives coming. All right, that's a wrap for today's briefing.